This presentation by Group 3 seeks to summarize the scientific article titled Warming and Earlier Spring Increases in Western U.S. Forest Wildfire Activity, the citation for which can be found at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The picture displayed is from California, where they are currently dealing with their own wildfire crisis. So before we can get into the methods or the results from this study in particular, it's important to go through a little bit of background knowledge. So, in the US, wildfires are becoming more and more of a problem. We are regularly spending over $1 billion in federal funds to fight these fires each year, and that figure is only going up. Even so, hundreds of residential homes are being burnt down each year, and the effects on the environment could either be long-term or permanent. We just don't know yet. So among environmental societies and firefighting societies, it's agreed upon that there are two primary causes for this sort of thing. So it could either be the history of land use in these high-risk areas, or it could be the changing climate trends in these high-risk areas.
The two main competing explanations for trends in wildfire activity are climate change and fuel management. Fuel management refers to the management of fuel loads in forests. Fuel loads include dead trees and underbrush, which can act as matches for fires. Land uses such as extensive livestock grazing and effective fire suppression systems have led to increased fuel loads, which can be dangerous in the case of a wildfire. On the other hand, climate change explanations claim that increased variability in moisture conditions, increased drought frequency, and warming temperatures are the reason for wildfire activity. Although climate change and land use history are described as competing explanations, they may also be seen as complementary to each other. Past land use increases the sensitivity of forests to changing climate conditions as it can provide more fuel loads. Therefore, the trends in wildfire activity may be due to a combination of extreme droughts and excess fuel loads.
Big topics like this need to have discussions with those involved and amongst the community. Investigations of 34 years of western U.S. wildfires, along with hydroclimatic data, was put in place to figure out where the biggest increases were happening. This was seen through document records and proxy reconstructions. The use of high-quality time series was very valuable, although other researchers prior, for various reasons, did not choose this method. From the compiled 1,166 large forest fires, data was able to be collected on account of frequency, timing of snowmelt using Stewart and colleagues' dates, and annual time between fire ignitions beginning and ending and their control.
The first result is in the increased rates of wildfires. Increased rates of large wildfires in the 1980s led to higher rates of wildfire frequency as well as total area burned than in what had ever been seen before. The length of wildfire season rose by 78 days in the years of 1970 to 1986, compared to 1987 to 2003. This has also caused the response and control time to increase 29.6 days. Elevation has also been discovered as a crucial element as it affects the timing of spring snowmelt that can cause changes in the temperature. The figure to the right shows the increase in temperature and fire season length, while also showing the shift from a late snowmelt to an early one from 1970 to 2003. Next is the effect fire activity had on the timing of the snowmelt. 56% of wildfires originate in early snowmelt periods. Early snowmelt periods are correlated to seasonal droughts that can increase flammability and therefore increasing chances of a wildfire taking place. Increased spring and summer temperatures play a hand in snowfall that directly affects snow melt time. Spring and summer temperatures in 1987 to 2003 were the warmest that had ever been recorded. The figure to the right shows on Graph A the relationship of wildfire frequency and snowmelt timing, while Graph B shows the snowmelt timings in comparison to elevation and wildfire frequency.
The last main result is spatial variability in the wildfire response affecting the timing of spring. Temperature and available moisture determine the ability for the spring timeline to change. Based on the figures to the right, the Northern Rockies and Northern California have the greatest probability to endure changes in the timing of spring. These are also the areas that make up over 75% of the increase in wildfire frequency since the 1980s, as these areas have higher elevations. Observations and historical wildfire data show an abrupt transition in the mid-1980s from infrequent large wildfires, averaging about 1 week in duration, to much more frequent and longer burning fires, an average of 5 weeks in duration. This shift was marked by unusually warm springs, longer summer dry seasons causing drier vegetation, leading to more large wildfires and a longer fire season, along with reduced winter precipitation and early snow melts. These changes that cause more wildfires dramatically reduce the amount of carbon that is being taken out of the atmosphere, as well as cause an initial spike in atmospheric carbon during the fire. This in turn then reinforces warmer, drier, and longer spring times and fire seasons, and less winter precipitation and earlier snowmelt, creating a positive feedback loop.
To continue the discussion section, I will be addressing two questions. Why are the findings of the study important, and what are the regional and global impacts of this study's findings? The findings are important because for so long, land use history was studied to explain wildfires, when in actuality it was associated with increased temperatures in the spring and the summer. Now with this information, we are able to directly study what is causing wildfires and eventually find a way to decrease the number of wildfires. The regional and global impacts of this study includes finding ways to stop the spread of wildfires by stopping global warming, whether that be the emission of greenhouse gases that is the cause of the increased wildfires, or just a natural occurrence that is taking place that is not addressed in the study. Overall, this issue needs to be addressed before wildfires continue to increase and become a major problem, more than it already is. And the impacts of this study due to its findings help bring the increased wildfires to attention, both on a regional and a global scale.